In this video, I'm going to give you my exact social media marketing agency sales script and my sales tracking sheet. It's a very powerful video, so let's just dive right into it. All right, so we're inside of my computer right now. Let's go. So here's what I'm going to cover today. First of all, the sales script, the sales tracking sheet, and then a summary at the end. And a pro tip, if you want to save yourself some time, watch this video in double speed. And as always, if you haven't already, I have a 100% free social media marketing agency course where I help people to go from zero to at least $10,000 per month in 90 days or less. It's a free course, free community, and also free weekly Q&A calls. You know where to find it if you're interested. But in today's video, I want to give you my exact sales script that I use in my social media marketing agency to close clients worth at least $3,500 per month or more. So let's dig into it. So if you go to maxpearson.com/sales script, you will be taken to the script, and let's just go over that script in detail. So maxpearson.com/sale-script, and you will be taken to the correct document. And what you can do here is just click on file, and then you can either make a copy into your own Google Drive, or you can download it, right? And if you haven't already, also what I'm gonna recommend that here on my YouTube channel, if you search for Max Pearson pitch deck or Max Pearson spin selling, or if you go through my course, I will talk more about like the specifics on how to use the sales script and when to use it. But in today's video, I just want to give you the sales script. So if this is exactly what you're looking for, I can just give it to you right away. So sales script template, only use this script as a guide. Read it, practice it, digest it, customize it, and make it your own. You don't want to read this script verbatim on your sales call, but you rather just want to use the script as a guide, essentially, as a tool to guide you through the call. Remember to always take notes on the prospect's answers to your questions, because you want to be able to recall the story back to him or her on the actual call. I'm going to mention that more about that here in just a second. And also here's just a kind of checklist to like come prepared to your actual sales call. So first of all, start the Google meeting or Zoom meeting or whatever you use at least 5 minutes before. So you launch it up, you see that it's working. Also make sure that your mic and your webcam is working. You should definitely use your webcam on your video sales calls, because it allows you to show your face. Obviously, it builds trust. It lets the guard down from the prospect that you're talking to. You can show that you're listening. You can show when you're smiling. You can show when you're serious. You can show that you're understanding. And also, if you don't have your cam on, it's just weird, like, because then they're gonna wonder why don't he has his cam on, right? And also have a pencil and a notepad and a water bottle with you. So always have a notepad with you on your calls. And as you ask these questions, you want to write down the answers to them. You don't want to write it down like verbatim exactly what they're saying, but let's say you ask them like, what type of advertising are you doing right now? And then the person goes off on a tangent and they talk about Google, and they've tried like Google and some meta ads in the past. Then you just write like Google meta past 2 years or something like that. You just want to have a note of that. So every single question you ask, every single answer they give to you, you want to write a note of that so that you remember that, essentially, because you want to retell the story back to them later. I'm gonna tell you why in here in just a second. And then point number 4 is just like, before you like jump into the call, just relax, breathe, and remember that the other person is just a normal human being just like yourself. You're just looking for a solution that will benefit their business. Do your best to present your solution and value. Don't feel the stress of making the sale. Rather focus on making sure that the prospect understands the value you can bring to the table. So sometimes it can be very easy to be very nervous because you're getting a call with a big company or with a business owner who's making a ton of money. But what I've learned over time is that each and every single person that you talk to, they're just a normal human being. And the more successful entrepreneurs you talk to, more often than not, like 99% of the time, the more successful the entrepreneur is, the more humble they're going to be, and the more understanding they're going to be. And hate is always coming from the bottom. There's like a saying like that, and it's completely true. Like the most successful people I've talked to has been the most respectful people that I've talked to. They've called me sir, even if they're making 100 times, thousands of times the amount of money that I make. So don't be scared to talk to people. Like even if they're super successful, they're just not like a normal human being. They eat, go to bed, and go to the toilet exactly like you do. They laugh and cry exactly like you do as well. So don't be nervous about that, essentially, right? Just you're talking to another human being who's looking for a solution. That's it. Small talk. So the first thing that you do when you jump on a sales call is just to have like a 1 to 3 minute like small talk, like some personal talk. So simply set a good vibe for the call before you dive into business talk, essentially, right? Be yourself, greet the prospect with a genuine smile, and show some interest in their personal life. Like example questions could be like, hi John, nice to meet you. Like, how are you today? You know, for example, where are you calling from? Or if they're sharing their cam and maybe you see they have like a sports team shirt at the back of their office, or you can ask them where they're from. They tell you that they're from Austin, Texas, and you tell them that, you know, for example, I tell them, yeah, I'm from Sweden. Have you ever been to Sweden? Yeah, I actually have a relative in Sweden. Yeah. And you spend a couple of minutes there just to kind of feel on each other a little bit, right? That you're just two normal human beings. But at the end of the day, you're here to talk business. So after, well, like 1 to 3 business, you go to the next step, and that is to set the agenda. So the main goal here is just to get the prospect to understand how the call will play out, essentially, right? He or she will now understand that you will ask some questions first, then you will share your presentation, and after that you will discuss the price and your your offer. So after you've had like the small talk, then normally what I do is I ask them like, hey, John, is it okay if we just dive straight into the call essentially? Is that okay with you? And she's going to tell you, yeah, sure. And then you tell them normally like this, right? So, okay, so normally on these calls, I like to spend a couple of minutes first just to learn a little bit more about you and your business and your company, what you're currently doing in terms of advertising and what you're looking for and so forth. After that, I prepared the presentation for you where I'll go walk you through from A to Z, so exactly what we do, how it works, client testimonials, past results, case studies, etc. And after that, we can take it from there and discuss pricing, our offer, and those details. Does that sound okay with you, John? And you will notice here, like all of this that I've written down here is just off the cuff. Nothing is perfect, and it doesn't really matter because you can do this your own. The main thing you want to do here when you set the agenda is just to, like, your people here, two different parties, and you just want to agree upon like a framework, how the call will go. So you ask John, or whatever his or her name is, right? Is it okay if we do it like this? I ask you some questions first because I just want to figure out what you're looking for and what you currently do in terms of advertising and so forth, right? After that, I will present to you exactly what we do, and then after that, we can present what we have to offer and the pricing. Is that fair enough? Is that okay with you, John? And then when he or she says okay, then you have like the framework in place because now both parties know how the call will go. And that's very important because if you don't set the agenda, then John might jump in with questions all the time, or he want to steer the call another direction. So it's just nice to set the agenda up front, right? Classical sales technique essentially, or for a sales call. Then what you do is that as John has agreed that you're going to ask him some questions first, then it's naturally that you start to ask him some questions. And what we use is spin questions, and you spend 10 to 15 minutes of this. And spin is basically a sales methodology that stands for, the S stands for situation questions, P stands for problem questions, I stands for implication questions, and N stands for need payoff question. And if you don't know what that is, I highly recommend to either go through my course or you can just search on my YouTube channel here. I have a separate video on spin selling, but it's basically different questions to ask to get the information that you need. And also so situation question is question you ask them about the current situation, obviously. Problem questions is question that you ask to identify problems that a prospect have. And then implication questions is questions that you ask to like pour salt into the wound or scratch the wound. So you identify a problem and then you want to make that problem bigger because you want to have a big problem that you can solve, obviously. So that's implication questions. And then need payoff questions are like the opposite to implication questions. It's you identify positive and you want to make the positive bigger and bigger and bigger. Like what would happen if we solve this problem for you? How good would that be? And why would that be good? And how would that be good in turn? So like first, second, third, and fourth like consequences down the line. You know, what's kind of the ripple effect if we solve these things, right? So yeah, I'm not gonna go into detail what spin is more than that. If you want, again, it's very powerful. If you want to learn more, you'll find that in the course or in the separate YouTube video on that. But then I actually ask some simple spin questions. So here I have some examples. So for example, okay, great, John. So please tell me a little bit more about your business. That's a situation question, right? What makes your business unique? Why do people buy from you instead of a competitor? Also very powerful, kind of a situation question as well. It's like now they kind of have to sell themselves to you. They have to tell you like why they're unique and why they have a unique business and so forth. And this is very good. And you can dive a little bit deeper into this question as well, because it allows the business owner to kind of flex their wings, to kind of show them how good they are. And a lot of people enjoy that. And then what does your current sales and advertising, or what does your current sales and advertising process look like right now? So you can ask them, okay, how do you generate leads right now? Okay, what does your sales process look like? What happens when you get a lead? Also, how much do you currently pay per lead? Most business owners, at least in our industry, they don't really know because they don't track this, but in your industry, they might do track that. You want to identify like how much do they pay per lead? How much do they pay per appointment? How much do they pay to generate the new customers right now? Like, are they even able to track this? That can also be a question. Like, do you really know like how to track this in your business right now? No, I don't. Okay, well, how do you think that is affecting you right now with your advertising? Well, it's probably not that good. Well, why don't you think that's good? Well, because we're probably just wasting a ton of money and we don't really know where the results are coming from. And that's an implication question, right? You identify a problem and you scratch it, you dig it deeper. And that's something that I want you to keep in mind as you do more sales, is that you want to identify problems and then you want to dig into those problems. You don't want to identify a problem and just leave it there. It's a rookie mistake, and I've done that over and over again. And I still do that to this day, right? But you want to ingrain that in your head, that you want to find problems and then you want to dig deeper into those problems, and then you want to figure out if maybe that problem is creating a huge ripple effect of even bigger problems. So they might not even be aware of how big of an issue that kind of small. They might think that this problem is rather small, but in reality, this small problem, quote unquote, air quote, small problem, it's causing a ton of other super big problems from the smaller problem, right? So that's implication questions. It can be very, very powerful to ask those implication questions. Then you could also ask them like, how much do your business generate per year right now or per month right now? You want to have like a number there, can be pretty nice, especially when you do advertising. advertising or any type of consulting. Where do you want to grow this business to within the next 12 or 24 months? Because they do advertising, right? So where are they right now and where do they want to grow to? They want to invest money to grow, essentially. That's what advertising is. So it's just a natural question to ask them. How much do you do right now? And how much do you want to make in a year or two? Really good to know that as well, because then if you have any case studies or testimonials, you can actually show them that, hey, here's another business, same situation like you. They were doing these things that you also are doing right now, and they were exactly what you are right now in terms of revenue. And right now, 1.5 years later, they're making this amount of money. It's even more than your goal is. So that's why it's very important to have case studies and testimonials as well. And in my course, I show you exactly how to utilize case studies and testimonials for your own agency, even if you personally don't have it yet. So very powerful stuff. Also, what do you think is the main obstacle hindering you from achieving that goal right now? Also, it's like a classical question, right? Like, give them the word. Like, why can't you achieve this right now? Like, why are you looking for help? Well, we don't have the right marketing system right now. Okay, what do you mean about like the right marketing system? What are you looking for? Well, we're not getting the results that we want with Google right now. Okay, how so? Well, it's expensive. Okay, why do you think it's expensive? All of our competitors are doing Google ads as well. If you would escape Google and figure out how to do YouTube ads, let's say, do you think that would benefit you? Yeah. Okay, why? Well, probably because the competition is lower there. Okay, how would that benefit you? Well, the cheaper would be prices. So now you can do implication and need payoff questions. You're digging deeper into it all the time. Classical spin, right? Ask a lot of questions, and you don't want to tell them about your solution. You want to ask questions to get them to tell you. You want to get the prospect involved in the solution, essentially. Yeah, so dig deeper into this. As mentioned, how would things be different in your business and personal life if you grew the business to $5 million per year? That's your goal, right? And then you can dig deeper into that with questions as well. I would make more money. Okay, how would that affect your business? I would be able to hire more people. How would that benefit you then? Well, I wouldn't be able, I could actually, focus on what the vision and like the ideas and implementation. I can outsource the sales to the sales guys more, and I can hire, a new office manager, yada, yada, yada. Okay, and how would that affect your family life as well? Then, yeah, I would make more money, more family, spend blah, blah, blah. So we can benefit, dig into that as well. So that just gives you an idea. You don't have to take these questions. These are really good questions to utilize, I would say, but you would obviously fine tune them to your specific SMMA offer or your niche and so forth, or your business. Then once you're done with all of the questions, retell the entire story back to the prospect. This will prove to the prospect that you've listened carefully and that you understand his or her problems and needs, right? So because remember, the only way that you will be able to have a custom solution for your client is if you understand their specific problems and needs. Okay, so this is powerful. That is why you need to have a pen and paper in front of you when you ask those questions. Because sometimes you can ask a question and then, for example, the first question, please tell me more about your business. That's just a general open question. And they might tell you a ton of things there. We've been in business since 1975 and, we started in this state and now we have expanded to this state. And I bought the business from this guy, and all of these things. You just start to write down notes of that. And then you might spend 15 minutes on this. And then what's really cool. Now, if you've taken notes from everything from beginning to end, if you haven't taken notes from what year he started his business or when he bought the business or what state he expanded from, etc., etc. If you haven't taken notes of that, you're never gonna remember that. But if you just write small notes, okay, started 65, grew from Arizona to Florida, you just have quick notes. And then when you're done with all of your questions, you can basically tell John like this. So, okay, John, so if I understand you correctly, okay, so you basically told me that you started business in 1965, you started in Arizona, you expanded to Florida, you've done Google ads, it didn't really work for you. Then you get you hired a vice president, that really helped you a lot. You get another marketing guy in, he knew a little bit about Google ads, you tested some more Google, he got a little bit better, and yada, yada, yada. So you just retell the entire story that you've been talking about for the past 15 minutes. And this is, when you can retell this story, something very magical happens. Because first of all, the person who, the prospect, he's going to be very impressed with you that does he remember all of this? Unconsciously, he's going to be like, this person has clearly listened to everything that I've told him. Every single detail that I told this person, he understands everything. He remembers everything. And also, this is why you want to do this as well. Because you want to prove to the prospect that, first of all, that you have listened to him, but also that you understand his or her problems, needs, and what they're looking for, essentially, their desires. And so this is very important because the only way that you will be able to have a solution for that person is if you understand their problems and needs, essentially. So always take notes, and when you're done with the questions, then retell the story. And you can even ask them, did I miss anything here, or is there anything that you want to fill in? Is there anything else that you think that I should know? Very powerful. It's very powerful technique to do. So I can highly recommend to do that on your sales calls as well, something you get better at over time. time, you just take notes, small notes, and then you can just retell the story. Once this is done, you basically continue to the next step. And the next step is to do your pitch deck, right? So what you do, and if you don't know what the pitch deck is, I have a separate video on that on my YouTube channel, but it's basically presentation. So once you're done with your spin questions, you basically ask John, so, okay, John, so I think that's all my questions for now. Is it okay if I tell you a little bit more about what we do? And then you just say, he will say, yes. And then you just say, yeah, perfect. So I will go over our presentation for you now. Please don't hesitate to interrupt me if you have any questions along the way. And then you just share your screen and go over the pitch deck. And remember to pause and ask the prospect a couple of times during the presentation if they have any questions. And also what I highly recommend when you go over your presentation is, look at the webcam like of your prospect as you do your presentation, because and keep an eye on them essentially, because you will see if they react to something and want to ask a question. If so, simply pause and give them the word. So for example, you will see that them do like, oh, or they kind of raise their hand, or they kind of react to something, and then you it's very nice to just give the word over to them, because I've been on a ton of sales calls myself, both as the salesperson but also as the buyer. And the worst thing when you're a buyer or a prospect on a sales call is that the salesperson is going the presentation for you, and the presentation might be super interesting, but then they mention something and you have a question about that, and then the person just keeps on talking, and you're like, and you're trying to get the word, but it doesn't give you the word, and that's frustrating. I've been on sales call when I'm getting pissed off because the salesperson don't listen to me, and it's very frustrating. So you don't want to do that mistake. So it's just a nice tip to keep an eye on the person you're talking to via the webcam. And if it doesn't have the webcam on, just ask him a couple of times, like, does this make sense to you, John? Any questions? No, it's fine. Or they're gonna be, yeah, I actually have a question, and they might just been too polite, air quotes, to interrupt you. So that's why it's very nice as well. Like before you do the presentation, just tell them please don't hesitate to interrupt me if you have any questions along the way. And then you can also ask them along the way if they have any question. And again, if you want to learn exactly how to set up a pitch deck for an SMMA, I have in my course, I show you step by step, but I also have a video here. It's a free course, by the way, right? It doesn't cost a dime, so you can just go to my website, you'll find the course there, but also here on my YouTube channel, if you search for Max Pearson pitch deck, you will find the video, and I'll give you a template and everything completely for free. All right, but that's basically the sales script. Now let's continue to the sales tracking. So I've also prepared a sales tracking sheet for you. I'm going to explain to you how to use that as well. So if you go to maxpearson.com/sales-tracking, so maxpearson.com/sales tracking, if you go here, you'll be taken to a simple Google Sheet, and here you can just click on File, make a copy, or save it. And yeah, it's very simple. We have different columns, and we have the calls here, right? And at the bottom we have the different months. And so the first thing you do, so after the sales call, you don't do this. You only put the people in here that you've talked to, and then you put in the date when you talked to that person, their first name, last name, their email, their phone number, price that you pitched as well in the sales presentation. Because this is good, because one smaller client that you talk to, you might pitch 2,500. And then a bigger client, you might pitch 3,500. So it's just nice. And then some people, you might pitch 3,500, but then they, ask you if they can can we do 3,200, or, do you want to get a special deal? You can so it's good to just remember what price you agreed upon on the call. It's nice to have a column for that. And then notes, here you can put in whatever. I just did some random notes here. Nice guy, good business, good fit for our offer. Had to check with business partner, follow-up call booked for next week. But you can really write anything here. He had relatives in Sweden. We talked about his niece, blah, blah, blah. He loves football, and, whatever details that you need to remember, you can put that in here. And then also the follow-up. So here, if you don't close the sales call on the first call number one, you should always close a follow-up call. And then here, it's always nice to put in the date and how you followed up with the person. So yeah, follow-up one. Yeah, so 3 days later, we had a follow-up call. Then I sent him an email. Then we had a phone call, and then he decided that he wanted to buy or didn't want to buy. And normally what I like to do as well is just to get a gauge on this tracking sheet, is to use some color coding. So yellow basically means that it's in progress, you've had the call and it's in progress. Closed is green, obviously, and then abandoned, lost if they tell you no, we don't want to buy, or we decided to go with another solution, or it's not a good fit for us right now. You just mark it as red, or you can remove. And I want to keep it still, even if they lost, don't remove the details, because it can be good to look back. If somebody comes back in 5 months and hey, we had a call 5 months ago, you can just go back back to the tracking sheet and yeah, okay, here's my notes from him from 5 months ago. He was actually, you know, he didn't buy and he dragged out the sales process a ton of, he was like, he told me he was going to buy and then he dragged it out. He asked for a ton of discounts and I like was willing to deal with him and he still didn't buy. He was just, you know, he just took a bunch of time for me. So then when he reached out in 5 months again, you can just tell him like, yeah, I remember our, you know, you can remember him exactly how it went. So now we want to get a, you know, now I want a decision now if I want to move forward, yada yada, right? So that's why it's so important and powerful to use a tracking sheet like this, but especially for the follow-ups as well. So yeah, you can utilize this, go and download it and utilize it for your own agency. It's going to make you a lot of money. So summary, let's summarize this video. So first of all, customize the sales script, right? So customize the sales script so that it suits your SMMA or SMMA, super niche marketing agency. I also highly recommend that you fix the pitch deck. And again, you know where to find that. If you want help to create the pitch deck, I have a template for you. Also, practice makes perfect. Read it out loud together with your pitch deck. Do some role playing as well. Very powerful. And then also the tracking sheet. So download it and bookmark it. The money is in the follow-up. So remember that. Subscribe and follow me on Instagram as well if you want to check out the free SMMA course where I help people to go from $0 to $10,000 per month in 90 days or less. Free course, free community, and free weekly Q&A calls. You know where to find it. And for today's quote from Henry Ford, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you are right? So this is important. That's why it's so important not to have like negative self-talk when you do sales. You don't want to bash yourself or tell yourself that you suck at sales or anything of that, because if you know, you're just going to hurt yourself. So confidence in sales is important. That doesn't mean that you have to be the alpha, aggressive, super extrovert salesperson. Not at all. Some of the most powerful salespeople in the world are like super introverted people. But at least you should have confidence in what you do and like speak with confidence and that you believe in what you do and so forth. So yeah, that's why I thought this was a fitting quote for this video, that whether you think you can or you think you can't, you are right. So if you think that you suck at sales, well, you will probably suck at sales. However, if you think that you're getting better and better and better at sales each and every single call, that's what's going to happen. So that's it. Let's get to work. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you enjoy those videos, definitely make sure that you subscribe. Follow me on Instagram as well for important updates regarding the channel, for new content, free content. I share a bunch of content on this channel that I don't share on inside of the free course. So you definitely don't want to miss out. Also leave a comment and like if you have anything that you want to know about, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.